Okay.
All right. Okay. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to talk about top challenges for construction. We're going to look at some specific construction industry challenges given the growth in the construction industry. And we're going to look at how using a full-scale ERP system like Acumatica can help make life easier related to those challenges. Okay, so the three main challenges after reading a lot and talking to a lot of our customers that we're seeing are lack of structure, some unrealistic planning that can result in scope creep and projects getting a little out of hand, and just communication challenges. So the construction industry is meant to be growing in the next coming years, which can really create pressure on construction businesses. We're meant to be building our reputations, attracting new business, ideally attracting new workers, and maintaining profit. So if we're looking at these challenges, thinking through structure, for example, it can really be difficult if goals are not always defined easily. It can be hard to get things done in an efficient manner. The construction project can fall behind or run over budget, or both, if not everyone has a clear structure to define what success is. And without that, it's also just difficult to hold people accountable for their part in any given project. We have also seen a lot of challenges related to planning, and this can happen to the best projects. But sometimes clients and stakeholders might end up making some big asks, and whether they want a project completed on an accelerated schedule or maybe a more limited budget, there are always challenges that come with those expectations. So while some things are possible for a very skilled project manager, many things aren't. And part of this is just making sure that we have all the knowledge that we have access to contained in a way that's easy for us to get at, which sort of gets to communication. So obviously, communication is an important tool in any profession, but it's especially important in massive construction projects where we've got work that's being delegated among subcontractors and a lot of different parties. So without good, clear communication both ways, it's easy for issues to slip through the cracks, and people can be unaware of them until it's too late to fix. So ideally, we'd have a system that would make it easy for us to communicate both with subcontractors, stakeholders, customers, and everybody on our team to make sure that everyone is informed and basically doing the best they can to help make sure that our projects are completed on time. So what I'll show you today is how Galeforce's team of experts can help you deploy a modern technology solution, Acumatica, that helps onboard new people, facilitate communication, and basically help manage projects in a way that keeps things organized. I'm your presenter today. My name is Arlene Welty. I'm a solutions consultant with Galeforce, and I help customers through the process of transforming their business by transitioning to Acumatica ERP. And I'm looking forward to showing you the product today. So how are these construction companies meant to retain talent and grow profits and manage all the daily challenges? Well, one of the angles that I'm going to be presenting to you is around metrics and how metrics help us. So they provide a clear picture, a single source of truth around what's happening in every corner of the business. So I won't just be showing you, the details of a construction project, although I will show you that. I'll also help you zoom out a little bit and see how, if I can get all of the business under a single pane of glass, so receivables, payables, financials, as well as all the construction project elements, how this helps us eliminate data silos, add structure, better estimate our projects, and improve communication. So data can be collected centrally, and that means that business managers like yourself can benefit from more accurate and insightful data. So with that, we're hoping that gives you the tools to keep everyone on the same page. So I'll show you a dashboard. We'll look at key performance indicators that can help you make good decisions every day, outmaneuver competitors, and maintain employee loyalty. So that's what we mean by how a proper technologically sound ERP system with embedded metrics helps us address multiple challenges because they're all related. Okay, so let's think about the challenges I mentioned: lack of structure, unrealistic planning, poor communication. So could any of these be addressed if we could get access to the system more easily? 100% of our Acumatica features can be accessed on a mobile device from dashboards with drill down capabilities. This very modern, easy to use construction system is highly flexible. So on any device, that's a desktop, a laptop, Windows, Apple, Android, you'll have the same Acumatica experience from wherever you access it. So basically, if you've got a browser and a connection to the internet, you have access to all the key construction project data that you need. So it also means, if you imagine using this on a mobile device, you can take advantage of the baked-in phone features like cameras, GPS, and maps that helps integrate the whole system with your phone. So you see how that might make the system more accessible to everyone, which also can make everyone on the team feel more connected. Now, another one of our challenges is always going to be people, right? So if we want to get the most from our system, it's got to be intuitive for our people to use. And since we're talking about metrics, I just want to put some data around this claim that Acumatica is easy to use. Usability is actually a measurement where Acumatica is ranked highest against its competitors. So as you consider the decision of using Acumatica for construction metrics, understand that a system that's inviting and usable, not to mention mobile, makes it easier and comfortable for more people to use. So with more people using it, you're going to have more quality data in the system, which results in you being able to make better decisions as a manager. This is from Scott McCalla at International Pipe and Supply, and I like this because we just want to think about how software and reporting tools allow people to work on the business and not just in the business itself. So this is what's included in Acumatica's Construction Edition. Like I mentioned, we're looking at a comprehensive ERP system, Enterprise Resource Planning System. So that means we're not just getting the basics of what you're going to need in construction. You're looking at financials, project accounting, cost codes for projects, compliance, and many industry integrations. If you've got some critical system that you rely on, that you need it to talk to Acumatica, that's usually not an issue. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the product. All right. So what we're looking at here is a construction project manager dashboard. So I'm just going to refresh this and we're going to get the most recent data for our Acumatica system. So thinking about metrics and reporting and how we're going to use this system to help address those top challenges, what I'm looking at here is a dashboard that essentially has many, many reports built under it. And I'm seeing a summarized view of what I need to know. So what I'll do is I'll walk you through this dashboard, and then we'll look at different areas of Acumatica and think about how they can help address those challenges of lack of structure, project creep, and communication. So let's start by taking a look at this dashboard. So I should mention that these widgets, or these elements on the screen, ship with Acumatica. So on day one, this can be your home screen. And this is what we would imagine and encourage for you, is that you might start with one of the multiple construction dashboards and tweak it to meet your specific needs. But just know this is available on day one. So these tiles the active projects, my late project tasks, underutilized employees, these red problem tiles over budget projects or unprofitable projects are all based on essentially a report behind the scenes. So one of the things we will look at is active projects. So just give you a preview. When I click on this, it goes to this active projects screen where I can see a list or a report, or also known as an inquiry in Acumatica, that tells me more about that. And we'll come back to that. I'll also note that thinking through structure and thinking of one of our challenges of lack of structure, how can having a super organized dashboard that's waiting for you in the morning with all today's latest information help with structure? It's going to help you think through, what do I need to do now? So that's part of where usability gets tied in as well. So let's look at these red tiles, our problem tiles. I've got 2 over budget projects, 5 unprofitable projects. Now, these numbers 2 and 5, if your scale is much bigger, maybe 2 and 5 don't mean anything to you, and you care more about if you've got 20 over budget project and 50 unprofitable projects. You can configure the colors on the screen to respond to what you would consider, a red, yellow, or a green, quote unquote, problem. So it's all up to you. It's all configurable. I'm just showing you this to give you a sense of what's possible. So like I said, each one of these has essentially a report under it that you can go explore. Same with these. These aren't key performance indicator tiles, KPI tiles, but these are inquiries that show me, okay, these are my items to approve. These are elements where people are waiting on me. And you might see how that helps address even the question of communication or project budgeting. If I'm a bottleneck, which a lot of managers can be, it would be helpful for me to manage my day and manage my projects based on the data that show me what's most important, rather than based on whatever emergency is happening today. So ball in court shows me who's meant to be doing what for each project. I can also see project issues all organized in one place. And I'm sure some of these look familiar. We've got a design change for the 2nd floor. We've got a drywall problem on the job site. The generator needs a concrete pad to be poured. So these are all project issues that can stream up to me, the project manager. You can see a list of my projects. How about the change order logs? We can see what's going on with those, as well as the original versus the actual budget. So you could use this dashboard on day 1. You could use a totally different dashboard on day 1. You might modify this to meet your needs. But the idea is there's a lot of reporting, inquiries, things like these KPI tiles baked in that make it easier to use the system and easier to start off on day 1 with strong structure. So let's take a look at the active project. So I told you we would come back to this. So we're thinking through right now this lack of structure question. So imagine how nice it would be for us to be able to see all my active projects at once and then tab over to see all the completed projects. Or how about the pending projects? Maybe I should have that in a dashboard tile. Active over budget or everything over budget. So these are different ways to filter the list of all my projects, and Acumatica makes it very, very easy for me to basically see everything I need to see and then go deeper into anything where we'd like to see more detail. So I mentioned we would go a little bit deeper. So let's look at one of our open projects here. All right. So this is going to pull all the details on this project, and you can see how this might be useful to see everything I need to see about this. So let me start on the top, and then we'll go through some of these tabs. On Acumatica, this is really around usability and user friendliness, but we can add notes to almost any screen in the system, any form where we're collecting information. I can add a note. So, okay, we're modifying the system. Great. but I can add those notes wherever it's needed so that I can better annotate or sort of comfortably tell the story of what's happening with a certain issue in the system, rather than always having to try to find out if I can put it in a specific field. Sometimes we just need like the human touch to mention a note that explains what's happening with, in this case, this project. Can also drag and drop any related files. So you can see how that would be useful if I'm navigating in this system, if I can actually see any scans, files, images related to this project right here, rather than having to run back to the office and figure out where that piece of paper is. So we can add everything here, which really increases my productivity because I can get so much done on one screen. So let's look at our project a little bit in more detail. We've got our customer defined here, and I can do project templates. If I do different project types, and I'd like to basically define defaults. So let's look at this summary. So this tells me how I've essentially set up the project. We can just see how we're doing our revenue and cost budget levels when I started it, and so on. And I can also add an unlimited number of tasks related to them. I can even group these by sales tasks or project management tasks and so on. It's also helpful for us to be able to see budget numbers. So I can see revenue and cost budgets, as well as the balances. So you can see how this is already giving me so much detailed information related to this project all on one screen. We can even manage things like employees and equipment on a project, so I can see who is assigned, what the equipment story is, and see how this is all related. I can check balances, create invoices, and even see and change orders all on one screen. So do you see how even just looking at this one example of the way a construction project is set up, and the deep amount of detail that's available to me right here would help me with the not always having a clear structure. So back to that word. One of our other concerns that I told you we'd be talking about today is unrealistic planning. So whether it's a big ask that comes in from a client or just overly optimistic estimating, sometimes projects just slip, and it's up to us, it's up to the manager to basically make it right. So what we're going to think about is sort of the people side of that. So one of the tiles I wanted to show is underutilized employees. So you can see how this is going to look familiar. I can click on a key performance indicator, and that takes me to like a mini report that shows me what's behind that. So here I can see my construction employees and sort of get a better sense of their available time, time spent, billable time, and also what that billable time ratio is. So if I just sort descending, I can see who's got essentially the highest billable time ratio. And this can help me see where I maybe need to make changes, or maybe adjust expectations, or perhaps skill up my team so that they can help address some of those project issues. The drywall problem, the concrete pad that we need to pour. Whatever it is, I need to make sure that I am maximizing my employee time so that I can help meet any gaps or fill any gaps related to expectations and my team's ability to deliver. And this also gives me more control over my forecasting and my commitments. Just a simple element that I'll show also on most of these screens, you can see there's a little Excel icon. So that means that it's easy to export anything on this screen to Excel. We'll also see some PDFs, and you'll see that we can export to PDF, no problem. So I just wanted to show this to give you a sense of the usability and how easy it is to basically see everything that you need to see in the format that works for you. Okay, our other challenge is poor communication. So like I said, it's communication is a key skill in any profession, but it's especially a lot of folks to delegate that work to. You've got subcontractors and employees and part-time folks and lots of other team members that we need to communicate with. And we're going to look at several areas in the system that help make this go a little more smoothly. It makes it easier for us to communicate both with my team, but even to my customers, let's say, to make sure they're getting their invoices on time and that they have statements that they need. Acumatica embeds what we need to make that possible, both internally and externally. Okay, so we are going to look at my late project tasks. So this is probably something that is going to need some communication. So like you saw, my late project tasks was in yellow. So if 20 is an acceptable number of late project tasks and that should be green, you can decide that. Or if anything over 0 is red, you can define that when you set up the dashboard. In this case, we're saying it's yellow, it's not great, but it's not red. So this is the key time to communicate before it slips into the red. So again, you notice that this goes to a filtered list. So these are all the project tasks. These are the overdue tasks. And these are filters that you can actually create on your own, although the system ships with many of them. There's a real consistency in how this looks and feels that can make it easy to learn. So looking at this, maybe if I don't want to look at all of these, but I just want to, filter by a certain number, I can filter by this cell, or I can sort these descending. So there's a lot of manipulation you can do on the screen that makes this easy to work with. But what we're looking at here is where we're just about to slip behind, and I just want to be organized about how I approach these overdue tasks so that I can help my team get pointed in the right directions so we can sort of make it right. So you can see how if I could easily see all this, our planned start date, our actual start date, and our planned end date with no end date defined, that might help me either define an employee for these or attack these on my own, call a meeting, make it happen, or push back on the customer to make a change. So even something like this that just shows me all the overdue tasks makes it easier to just have a much better global view of what is happening in Acumatica. And then I can communicate these to someone. Like I showed you, I could export these to Excel and use this as a starting point for a conversation. I just filtered it to just show this one project. So there's a lot you can do to manipulate and use the data so you only see what you need so that you can use it as a starting point for a conversation. So it's not just communicating about overdue project tasks, right? One of the promises of Acumatica is everything under a single pane of glass. So it's not just that I can see construction elements. It's that Acumatica allows me to see the whole business in one place. Parenthetically, that's based on my security level within Acumatica. But you can see that I can handle my banking, finance, project management, payables, receivables, purchases, and so on in all these different workspaces within Acumatica. So we're here for construction, so we're going to look at construction. So within the construction workspace, I have the most actively used items, so a new project task, a new change order in tiles right at the top. And I've got all these other transactions and activities and processes that I can either schedule to run automatically, like running project billing, or that I can do on my own, on demand within the system. I can also run inquiries. These are, inquiries I can run in the system to help me get a sense of what's going on. And a very impressive list of reports. So in construction, there's a lot of angles from which we need to analyze the business, and Acumatica ships with everything you see here. So let's take a look at some of the reports, and I'll show you how we can interact with some of these. Let's look at project profitability. I'll just mention, if I put a star next to this, because maybe I decided this was going to be one of my favorite reports, if I go up to favorites, then I will see that in project profitability under construction. It's easy for me to get access to. Anything that I favorite is just for me. It doesn't affect other people in the system, which allows you to personalize Acumatica without having to call up someone to customize the system for you. And I'll just show how you can open this in a new tab. And you can have multiple tabs open based on what you're working on that day. So we can see here, it's got the little gold star. It's remembering that that's a favorite. You can have as many favorites as you need. So you can define different report templates. So if I wanted to see project profitability by project manager Maxwell Baker, I can do that. I can also search here to say, no, don't show me Maxwell's projects, show me Martin's, right? I can select that. What I'll do is I'm going to keep the filters open so I can see everything. So when I click run report, you can see I've got a very nicely formatted, sort of ready for my audience project profitability report. Here are all the projects, a description of what the project is, the person who's my manager for the project, who the customer is, what the status of it is, currency, income, expenses, and margin. So I can easily see that right away. I also have the ability to, because this is a web-based system, I can hover over any of my projects and click on it to see about it. So it's not just a static report, it's actually something that can help me explore the entire system, and I can answer my own questions about what the revenue and cost budgets were, what the balances are, and so on. I can sort of go deeper into that project screen to learn more. You'll also notice I can export this to Excel or export it to PDF. And now I've got something that's ready to go, ready to show whoever. And if I want to then run this again, but filter it by a different project manager, I can do that too. So within Acumatica, you can see that what we're trying to do is really put everything we need under a single pane of glass, whether we're looking at issues of structure, communication, unrealistic planning. Acumatica is there for us in terms of putting these things all together and providing a very reliable, easy to use, but very powerful system for addressing these. So we'll wrap up in just a moment. Okay, now a lot of what we looked at was dashboard based, reports, inquiries, really trying to surface data from the system. And then we went a little bit deeper into it to see what was behind it. I like this because it reminds us that it's not just you get a dashboard or you get a report from Acumatica and that's it. No, it's just like this owner is saying, which is that you don't have to change for Acumatica. You can manipulate these reports, manipulate these dashboards so that they work for you. So what did you see today? We talked about structure, how Acumatica, a system with dashboard tiles and embedded reports and deeply detailed project information, makes it easy to see everything that you need. Forecast and planning. We looked at the underutilized employees and understood how we could help them do the most. And we summed up with communication. So if I can have great visibility to the system, not just for construction, but for finance, banking, receivables, payables. It allows me to be proactive with everybody on my team, internally and externally. Thanks for joining today. We'd love to talk to you more about your interest in construction. So we can always do a high-level discovery call or a check-in call, give you preliminary software pricing, and give you a sense of timing for implementing Acumatica for you. So thank you for joining. Appreciate it and hope to hear from you.